Hello folks, Y Guy here again. Welcome to my home on this July afternoon. It's approximately 100 degrees right now, thus the reason I'm so casually dressed. This video is titled The Y Guy Asks, What is Leaven? Now I'm going to be addressing the church system right now, not individuals who have personally been introduced to God and who have personally responded to Him. I'm not talking about them. That is the true definition of the church. Instead, I'm addressing the church system, an organized system, okay? And I'm going to delve a little bit into the history. Not too terribly much. I want to keep this video very short, actually. Now, it is said, okay, it is said, a little leaven leavens the whole loaf, okay? So, my question is, what am I talking about leaven? Just a couple examples. The Bible is a good example. Has it been leavened? Is there a little leaven in it? That's a good question to ask. Is there a chance that there's even a little leaven in the Bible? Okay. And I want to answer that one so bad. The Christian church organized the system, the organized Christian system. Is there a little leaven in that? That has grown into a lot of leaven. Is there such thing as traditions of men? Is that some of that may be considered leaven? How about the doctrines of men? Okay, obviously, my viewers, you understand that leaven has been introduced big time into the Christian church organization, the Christian church religion. Now, it also has been in the Bible as well, and it's called mistranslation. Okay. And it came about in about 440 A.D. When they published the first Latin Bible called the Latin Vulgate. And the reason I judge that as leavened is because so much of the mistranslations have slandered God's character. Okay? Now I judge everything that I believe and everything that I research on, does it endorse God's character or does it slander His character? All right. And what is His character? As I've said in previous videos, He is love. He said so. He is good. He said so. Okay? Now, something else I pointed out as well is God a good tree or a bad tree? Jesus said a good tree cannot produce bad fruit, and a bad tree cannot produce good fruit. So whatever you believe about God, okay, and about His character, is it good fruit or bad fruit? And I know this is simplistic, and I could really get into it on this one, but I'm not going to on this video, because I want to get into the conclusion here that I'm coming up on. Leaven, speaking of church history, there was a leaven of ignorance, okay, as well. Now, it's already addressed the leaven, doctrines of men, traditions of men in the church system, the Latin Vulgate Bible, horribly. Some of the words are horribly mistranslated in that. And the leaven of that and what is produced in the church of today, unfortunately. Well, the early church, they had a leaven of ignorance, okay, that they introduced. And in other words, don't let the congregation know about the true character of God. Instead, pervert His character, okay, as an angry God, okay? And not just that, let's continue with the perversion. And it's like one leaven produces another leaven, the leaven of fear, okay, by fear-based doctrines. Using an angry God as a tool to produce the leaven of fear, let's continue on with that, and let's use a pagan belief of a torturous afterlife that God endorses, this angry God endorses. Let's use that. That's leaven also. Now, what that does is that sets the clergy up, the person who produces this leaven, who teaches this leaven, it sets them up as one that is in control of someone else's eternal destiny, you see. It's all about power, folks. Power. As well as money. And why I can say that, too, is because in our church history, in the Christian church history, not mine, thank heaven, is you could actually buy forgiveness. you could approach the clergy, and if you were wealthy enough, you could get away with more. Simple as that. Now, isn't that wonderful? How about the leaven that the clergy knows best? And you must agree with the clergy, or else you're going to have to deal with an angry God, because they're the ones that are between you and God to offer forgiveness. Now, a lot of my Protestant friends, now obviously this came from the ancient Catholic religion, and a lot of my Protestant friends will say, well, oh, we don't believe that, we don't promote that. Oh, really? Oh, really? Let's address some of that. By the point of the organized church today is using the same name of God, okay? They're using the same tactics. They're just different name on the door, a different face, the face of Baptist or Lutheran or Methodist or what have you. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, I'm going to give you an example of a story that was told to me just recently of a very good friend of mine on Facebook, and I'm not going to mention his name specifically by his request, and also I'm not going to mention the name of the clergy that he spoke with because of the small community we live in. Now, this friend, my friend that's on Facebook that I associate with, was trying to point out to this clergy that he thought was his friend, trying to point out to him that about all the leaven that's been introduced into the church system. Just trying to point it out, the leaven, in a very loving way, by the way. And the response from this clergy astounded me. It shocked me, and it shouldn't have, but it did. And the conditions, okay, the conditions to research this leaven, okay, was that they had to study together, and they had to study responsibly. Now, this is how this clergy defined being responsible, okay? You couldn't use history. Right there. If you don't have bells going off in your head and red flags shooting up and sirens going off, like I did when I heard that, you can't use history. You can't use wiki, okay, researching internet, using them. And you can only use a translation of a Bible that's been translated from the Latin Vulgate. Okay, now, how does this apply? Keep people in ignorance. Don't let them research. Lay down the law. You have to agree with the clergy on this one if you're going to not be ostracized, if you're not going to be, if you're going to continue to fellowship in this particular church. It's the same tactics, folks. It's the same thing that was used way back then when they manipulated people and used fear and bondage. It's the same thing, and it's all done in the name of God. Okay? Now, also in closing, I do want to point out that yes, because God is good, because He is good, because His character is good, and the name of Christ is being lifted up in some of these heavily leavened churches, God is still getting the glory in them because of Him, because of who He is, not because of some of these ridiculous beliefs that are being promoted. Now, I'm going to close by saying that this same quote pastor, or this pastor who said this, he would be the first one to scream from his pulpit, context, context. You must research, study in context. Pastor, history is context. Language is context. Understanding the history of your Latin Vulgate translated Bible is context. I am so glad my friend ran from that church. Signing off, thank you for viewing.